No, this shirt's on inside out.
Real professional, man.
God damn it, man.
Hi, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Josh.
And I'm Drew.
This is our monthly pull list review. This is where we look back at the last month and talk about all our favorite stuff and all of our not so favorite stuff too.
Hell yeah, we do.
That's right. We are going to talk about, 6 titles that are in our top this month. They include Airboy, Doctor Strange, and Archie.
And I got the visual Fade and I Hate Fairyland. That one doesn't get an accent.
Those others were accents.
Shut up.
We also have some stuff that we weren't so fond of. We'll talk about that later, but it'll be a surprise. So let's start off with, it's an exciting surprise. I'm sure they can't wait.
Fucking riveted.
Right. Now we got them all hooked until the end. Let's start off with Airboy. This is Robinson and Hinkle. This is the finale of this series. Only 4 issues, and I'm so sad to see it go.
So sad. It was a treasure every month. Every month that it came out. There was one month it didn't come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, and this could... I guess it's cool that they got in, they told a story, and they got out. But, man, I'd love to see more of this. I feel like they could have stretched this for like a year of stories, and I would have been just as excited to read it. But
yeah. I think it also would have been cool if they just sort of worked around and found a bunch of those public domain titles that nobody wanted to do and just had, similar experiences with each of them. So it's like, oh, we got to write fucking this guy now.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. But such is not the case, sadly. Airboy's gone from us forever.
Yeah, so what is it that we loved about this so much? Mostly, I think it was...
penis got smaller in the 4th issue.
It did. That was strange, right? I wonder what they were trying to tell us there.
Selling point. Maybe it was like the back to reality thing.
There you go. Probably, actually. Yeah. I think there was some interesting juxtapositions here with the characters. Obviously, that's the big selling point with this is we get these debaucherous, real-world kind of people thrown in. We get a lot of metafiction.
That's the weird thing about it. Like, it's so far out, but it's so real at the same time. Mm-hmm. We really get a excellent sense of, not only who these people are, but, the real fears and desires and stuff. And, you don't usually get that in books. Yeah,
not even good, grounded stories in the comic world. A lot of time you don't...
like indie titles without all this fantastical shit.
Yeah, you still often don't get this deep into the psyche of the characters. Even things like really lauded stuff like sex criminals and even Descender and like a lot of these really kind of deeper character dramas, you still don't get this sort of deep level...
Yeah.
visceral feeling of these characters the way you do in Airboy of all fucking things.
Yeah. I'm super impressed with these guys.
Yeah.
I hope they team up on another book.
Yeah, me too. And I'll tell you, I'm now a huge fan of Greg Hinkle, the artist, as well. I'm excited to see what he does next. I know Robinson has Scarlet Witch coming up, which I'm super excited about, and we are going to be doing on our weekly pull list review show. That's coming up in December when that drops. And I know he's been working very closely with Jason Aaron to make that story cross over into the world of Doctor Strange.
Very nice.
So we're going to see Robinson and Aaron kind of working those two characters together.
And being
be great, right? Isn't that cool? And being that Doctor Strange is another title that we're going to talk about here in a little bit that's been in our tops. For Robinson, I think we're set. We got cool stuff coming up. But
yeah, Hinkle, we're going to have to figure out what he's doing.
Yeah, we got to see what he's doing next because he's awesome.
Cool. Speaking of interesting artists and stories, I Hate Fairyland. So this one's just pretty all around great. Mm-hmm. The animation is fantastic, the story is fantastic, the dialogue is fantastic, it's funny, it's witty, it's clever, and it's pretty much just one guy.
Mm-hmm. I think a slip of the tongue that you just had just now when you said that animation is great is very telling of this book because it does feel animated. Like from panel to panel, you do feel like there's movement and there's these characters just kind of come alive inside this book. They feel...
everything's so vibrant.
Animated and vibrant, and it feels like things are moving on the page. It's just so... it pops. I don't even know how to put it. It's just the look of it is incredible. It's so much fun to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond that, everybody that I've handed this book has absolutely loved it.
Yeah, everybody loves it.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's great. Your mother read it, right?
Yeah, and she was super into it.
Yeah.
And she's not somebody that reads comics, and she's not somebody that's even particularly into cartoons. And yeah, after I let her read the first one, she was asking me about it like every week.
Yeah, it's a great comic. It's funny, it's irreverent, it's juvenile, but it knows it's all of these things. It knows how juvenile it is, and it plays that to its advantage to really get the most out of the laughs. It's just funny and awesome. It's hard to even...
It's everything it should be.
Yeah. It's something I Hate Fairyland, and you look at the cover, those two things together tells you everything you need to know. It lives up to all those things. There's variant titles that say "Fuck Fairyland," by the way. Have you seen that?
No.
So that tells you kind of what you're in for.
Interesting.
All right, let's hop back over to Marvel and let's talk about something we mentioned just a minute ago. This is Doctor Strange. This is Jason Aaron and Bacalo. Is that how his name's? Why don't they put it? Yeah, Bacalo. So this is a title that is in this Marvel All New, All Different. This is the second one in just a few weeks. I think issue number 1 came in at the end of last month, and this one came in at the beginning of this month. Mm-hmm. We loved the first issue, and this one just really sort of continued the interest that we had from that first issue. It had a lot of the same feel and style to it. And this is kind of a situation where we're getting Marvel style taken to its limit. Like, this is the pinnacle of a classic but modern, like the modern Marvel world storytelling style. This is that, but just done better than that, I would say.
Yeah, I would say a similar thing about the artwork. I love how it's just all of the Marvel styles throughout the decades just sort of juxtaposed together, and they pull it off. Mm-hmm. And it looks really cool, and it's totally appropriate for the title, having it be Doctor Strange. You know, there's a little bit more allowance for things that wouldn't necessarily fit, but I think in a regular book you could pull it off too.
I think so too. And the great thing about this book is it's so strange and outlandish, but you could throw Spider-Man into one of these panels. You could throw Captain America in here and have him standing talking to Doctor Strange, and it would all feel fine. Like, that's really what's so interesting, is it feels and comes off somehow as an indie book in a lot of ways, in the way it's structured and the way the story's told and how he goes about telling these stories. But at the same time, it feels completely at home in the Marvel Universe and totally just part of that world.
All right, so next we got an Image title, The Fade Out by Brubaker and Phillips, another dream team.
Well, man, this is one of those books that's so hard to pin down in that kind of way for me, because it's got a lot of things to love, but it's really this combination of a lot of good elements that come together to make something great for me. I feel like the writing is great, but not... it's not avant-garde or strange or even all that different. It's
super well done.
Just really well done. The art's the same way. There's nothing crazy or weird going on. You open it up and you feel like, okay, this is a nice comic with good art. But when you put them together, like, that's what you need to tell this particular story. Like the way these guys work together, you can tell that they've been working together for a really long time, because it just feels so natural. It just feels right, and they're just good together, I think.
Yeah. This is almost like that band that sounds like 1960 that's just way the hell better than the Rolling Stones.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the analogy I would give it. I mean, the writing, again, is not, I would say, even super modern. I mean, it is because it's like the comic world, but I mean, as far as novels and stuff are concerned, it's really nothing new. Right. Same with the artwork. But just the way they complement each other and the way this particular story unfolds and the way these particular characters are, it's just hard to beat.
Right. And it's just such a good story. It pulls you in, and they both do this really good job of making all of the characters unique and understandable.
And endearing.
Yeah,
despite
everybody.
all their bullshit.
Yeah, everybody is endearing, or there's a few people who aren't that aren't supposed to be.
Well,
But yeah, there's just this thing with it where you never get lost in these characters. You never question their motivations. Like everybody seems to be doing exactly what they should be doing, which is hard to do in a big, long, sprawling story like this. This is 12 issues of a relatively simple little mystery that they're trying to solve.
right, there's a lot of characters in here.
Right, yeah, there's a lot of characters to tell over these 12 issues on a simple story, and they're managing to really get the motivations of everybody, and I think that is both the artist and the writer that make that work in this particular instance. A lot of times with things, it's one or the other, but
Right.
in this
Again,
one, it's both
dream
together.
team. They just get each other. They understand the vibe that the other one's going for and just complement it.
All right, let's hop over to something that is still surprising me that it keeps making my top list. This is Archie number 4. This is Mark Waid, and this is a new artist, Annie Wu. This has been Fiona Staples for the first 3, and now we have Annie Wu. For me, this one is it's just the slice of life kind of book that I've been looking for, I guess, that we didn't have. I'm not sure existed before this.
I could see that. The closest likening that I could think of it from our pull list would be Jupiter's Circle, which, again, I mean, it is like superheroes and stuff, but, the whole point of that is that the superheroism kind of takes a backseat to real-world stuff, and this is that without even that. There is no superheroism whatsoever. It's just people going about their lives and having problems. And
Well, and it's just light fun. It's
a sitcom.
It's like a palate cleanser when you're somebody who reads a lot of comics. This is the strawberry sherbet that you have that gets you ready for the next meaty meal that you're going to try, that next course. But it's really good at its job. You read this and you get some laughs and you want to know what's going to happen next. At least I do. When I get to the end, I'm ready to read the next one. And that's, for me, that's always a sign of a great comic.
Yeah. And Mark Waid, again, does an excellent job writing in this style. Again, I'm not super familiar with the history of Archie and whatnot, but I think everything that he's doing with the book is, completely appropriate and a fresh take while not being something I perceive to be altogether different than what was happening before.
Right. And I also wonder, like you and I have talked about how it feels real and how it feels like he's doing a good job of writing young people. But at the same time, we're not young people. So it's hard to say how maybe a young person might feel about this. It's possible that somebody young might read this and feel like pandered to or like fellow kids kind of thing. But for me, at least, the target demographic of comic books these days, men in their mid-20s to mid-30s, I think this is a great glimpse into like a high school world. This is kind of like, it's like a fantasy, like a fantasy of what high school would be like for people our age almost, is the way I feel like this works,
Do you think it reminds you of Mean Girls at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a major Mean Girls vibe, which is kind of the same way. I'm not sure how closely Mean Girls really mimics high school. Not really.
Probably not really, you know, but it's super fun. I like it.
Yeah, Mean Girls, I think, is a great comparison. It's probably the best comparison I've heard. This is very Mean Girls.
Ever. It's the best comparison ever.
Ever for anything that's ever
been compared.
Yeah.
Last one for me, we got The Vision, number 1.
This is last one for us, really. This is an incredible title.
Well, I was going to claim it, but if you just have to get a slice of the pie, that's great.
I have to get a slice of this pie. I am the one that picked it off the shelf, okay?
Yeah. The thing I really like about this character is how mechanically philosophical he is. And those aren't two things you normally associate together. And I can't even think of anything to liken it to based on that, because there's really nothing else that's mechanically philosophical. Yeah, I just love it. Yeah. I love his views on humanity. I love how he approaches situations. I love how he perceives normalcy. It's just fantastic. It was a really fun read. It was funny at parts, but very, very dry humor, which I'm totally into.
Yeah. Yeah, he just nails Vision. Just nails him. Maybe in a way that defines the character to where he's never been defined. This is a character that I think a lot of people put definitions onto, but has never truly been defined in the books themselves. You kind of have to pull the strings yourself and put those pieces in there. You know, I've always loved the Vision, and I've always seen him as this kind of character. The same, we've mentioned how Red Tornado and Vision are very similar characters. It's the same kind of thing with him. And I've always felt the same way with both of those characters, that they're this Pinocchio story that could be so brilliant. And if you just pull back the curtains for yourself and just imagine how these characters are feeling and what they must be going through, they become much better than they're usually represented on the page.
Yeah, like don't just put them against space monsters. Like really try to figure out who they are.
Right, and when you read something where they are fighting space monsters, if you take the time to pull back the curtain and read between the lines, it becomes a much better story. But you normally have to do most of that work as the reader. Right. Whereas this, I feel like this is Tom King saying, I see that too, and let's explore it. Let's actually look at that character from that perspective that I know everyone feels. We all see that in the character. You see glimpses of it when other people write him, but nobody's had the time
to really devote just to Vision.
Right, because he's always in teen books.
Right. I also like how they really didn't pull any punches about just how creepy like his whole little situation is, because it is super creepy.
It is creepy. You know? It's very Twilight Zone. Like if you imagine the Vision and his family moving in next door, that's a fucking creepy proposition in the first place.
Yeah, they don't sleep. They just lay there and wait because that's the normal thing to do.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah.
Gives you the heaves a little bit. Artwork I thought was pretty okay. I mean, it is pretty much house style, but I think it's well done.
And I think it fits the tone of the book, in that it is house style. I think
Which is what he would want to be.
Right. Yeah. I think they very easily could have taken this and done some really weird shit with it and made it more creepy. Gave it like that Cupola vibe or something. But making it just kind of the normal house style, it gives it this sheen of cleanly normalcy that doesn't belong there. And so every time you get their smiles in the picture, it's like a little bit unsettling. Weird.
Yeah.
And it's like that all the way through. It's constantly just a little bit unsettling because it all looks so normal.
Shadows really portray most of the emotions in this because the faces are pretty much just straight. I mean, the eyes change a little bit and the mouth changes a little bit, but you don't get like a very distressed look on anybody's face just based on their little eye movements and stuff. But yeah, just the shadows here and there really bring out the emotion in the panels, which is cool.
I also noticed that the coloring-wise, there's a strange offness to the colors in the book as well, where they feel a little chalky and pastel rather than the clean digital coloring that we ujally see.
Yeah, it's more of like a matte finish than
a matte finish is a good way to put it, which also helps that slight strangeness as well. All right, so that's going to bring us now to some of the stuff that we didn't like so much. It looks like we got 4 titles here. Do we want to go through them real quick?
Sure.
All right, we have New Suicide Squad number 14, The Mighty Thor number 1,
Jughead number 2, and Extraordinary X-Men number 1.
I'll say right off the bat that a lot of these are a surprise for me.
Yeah.
To be on here. So we'll start. Let's talk about New Suicide Squad. This is Ryan Briones and Blonde. This is issue number 14. And this is kind of a hard one to pin down on what's wrong with it.
It was just a fight scene.
Because it's nothing is what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's literally just a fight scene. They just shoot at each other.
Yeah, there's some half-assed attempt at some character building and stuff, but it comes off half-assed and just really doesn't give anything to the story.
Right.
I mean, other than a plot point.
And I think part of the problem here and part of why it's in the bottom, well, there's 2 parts. First, at this point, we've got a really great pull list. We've been doing this for months on end now, and we've been really brutal with cutting things out when they aren't spectacular. So when we get something like this that isn't spectacular, it ends up in the bottom of the list. Because there's nothing functionally or mechanically bad about this comic. In fact, it's pretty standard, what I would call like house DC comic book.
Yeah, DC team book.
Yeah. They make some quips. You get some shallow character development. People shoot guns at each other, do some flips. Issue's over. And it's also because this has ramped up and gotten better, I think, in both of our minds for a while.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The annual really knocked it out of the park, and I think the issue after that, maybe even the one after that, I can't remember if we've had two since then. But yeah, they were really good. And then this just seems a huge step backwards.
Okay at best.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking we just had this one bad issue. It's been getting better and better.
Give it another shot.
We'll give it another shot. We'll read it for another month. Hopefully it goes back to the way it was going before.
Next, we have Jughead, which I think we kind of mutually decided was just a little bit too Archie. It's just silly. It just seemed like insane-y and wacky, and I didn't really feel like I read a story or even learned anything about the characters. It was just like a bunch of random shit happened. And
yeah, that's exactly my thought as well. I didn't get any character development. I don't feel any closer or more invested in these characters than when I started the issue, and for a number 2 issue, I think that's important. But you're right, I did feel like the art was a little more on point than last time. Like you said, the first issue, we talked about this during the first issue and when we talked about this in the weekly review. First issue felt very Squirrel Girl.
Yeah,
Everybody looked like Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
This one, she's finding her style here with this, I think, and it's starting to feel like its own thing, and characters are getting a little more refined. But it was just too kooky and too juvenile for my taste, I guess.
Yeah. It's like a bad Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
They don't even make Saturday morning cartoons anymore, so.
Right. Are we going to continue with Jughead?
I don't really care.
I don't care either. Archie's so good.
I think we should just find something else that might be good.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Well,
because we weren't like head over heels with the first issue either.
Right.
It was kind of interesting.
I agree. We'll stick with Archie. We'll drop Jughead and see what we get next.
Sure.
Next in line here, we have one of the all-new, all-different Marvel titles. This is the Mighty Thor #1. This is Aaron, Dodderman, and Wilson. I really had pretty high hopes for this. The art looked pretty damn cool in it.
It's Jason Aaron.
It's Jason Aaron. The premise of Jane Foster Thor with cancer is neat. But I just, personally, maybe I made too many assumptions going in what this would be about and how he would approach this story, that when it went a completely zig instead of zag, it just kind of took all the wind out of the sails for me.
Yeah, I don't know that I was necessarily expecting anything going into this other than some old-timey quips and just the fact that it's Jason Aaron, so it's probably good. But just the way everything unfolded, and yeah, I mean, it is a good premise. I did like the premise, and I liked the sort of interaction between like the Thor powers and then the reality that she was living at the time. But it just turned out to be kind of like a jumble about space politics, and I didn't really like understand what the hell was happening, and I didn't really care to.
Yeah, Cancer Thor is awesome to me. I think that is so cool. Like, this character who is just the most powerful badass in the Marvel universe, pretty much. One of the top dogs, kicks everybody's ass, takes names, and then when she changes back, she's just sickly cancer Jane Foster, which feels like there's so much that could be mined from that. We could spend entire issues just on her with cancer, but that's me and my, non-superhero, indie loving kind of thing.
Sure.
I would love a Marvel book where the main storyline is that Jane Foster has cancer, and
Kind
how
of like
does she deal with that?
a Marvel Jupiter Circle kind of deal.
Yeah, I would love it. It would be fantastic. And occasionally she has to change to Thor, and when she does, it's a problem because it gets rid of all the stuff, and then her cancer treatment has to start over.
Yeah,
so
but that's the focal point of the conflict. Is like, God damn it, I have to change into Thor.
I have to be Thor to take care of this problem. Nobody else can handle it.
We get a little bit of that, but it ends up being like just a panel or so in this. And maybe she'll mention it later, but really not developed the way that I wish it would. Right, and it probably will in time, but I don't know that I want to stick with this book long enough to get that issue.
I don't know if I care enough to find out. I don't think I do.
Yeah. Knowing Jason Aaron, he'll probably do it, and it'll probably be good. And I'm sure I'll regret not reading that issue, but there's also the 7 or so in between there that I'm probably not going to like. So
yeah, the Asgardian space politics, I just don't.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know about, I don't care about, and he did nothing to make me care. He didn't drag me into it and make me want to know more. So I am fine with dropping this.
As am I.
Okay, well, it's out of here.
All right. So speaking of good writers that let us down this month.
Yeah, this one.
Lemire on X-Men. This is almost like comic karma because we've been just picking up so many Lemire titles. It feels like we have all of them sometimes, but we don't because he's just retardedly prolific. This was just boring and dumb, and it felt like the first 10 minutes of any of the X-Men movies that have come out, which I wasn't a fan of either. That's really all I have to say about it. Some of the artwork was kind of cool.
It was okay.
Yeah. We liked that Wolverine looked like Mickey Rourke, I think it was.
Yeah. All in all, I don't even want to spend too much time talking about this. It's just...
It's that bad.
It's just a bad X-Men book, which there have been so many of over the years. X-Men is one of those franchises that when it's done well, it's just so good and so cool, but it seems like nobody can do it well. There's so few people.
I mean, you see X-Men shit in the dollar bin all the time.
Right.
Most of it sucks.
Yeah, and this is just more of that. It's just not interesting.
Yeah.
They really, I feel like Lemire is completely just trying to get by with just showing us the characters in a fan. Oh, what is that word? You're just trying to satiate the fans.
Pandering.
Yeah, I guess,
Captain Continuity.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels like he's trying to pander to fans. He's just trying to give us exactly what he thinks people that like the X-Men want to see. You want to see...
He could be right, though.
You want to see Peter in the fields. You want to see Jean Grey not wanting to be an X-Man. You want to see Storm trying to get the band back together. But it's just, who cares? Like...
I guess a lot of people, because based on my understanding of current X-Men, this is kind of the shit that's coming out now. I don't think there's been like a strong X-Men title in like a while.
Right.
So, I mean, he's probably not wrong in his assumption. It's just that we're not the market for that.
Right. There is one more X-Men title coming out in January. At the moment, I can't think of who is writing it, but it was somebody who interested me. We might try it since we've dropped this one. We're dropping this one. We might give it a try, see what we think of it.
Yeah.
I think it's
not a busy week.
I think it's Uncanny X-Men, maybe, or
sure.
Maybe Incredible X-Men, Astonishing X-Men, Ultimate X-Men.
Yeah.
Unbelievable X-Men, Irritating X-Men, Unbreakable X-Men. Irredeemable X-Men.
Superfluous X-Men.
Indeterminate X-Men. Interdependent X-Men. Irrational X-Men.
Apathetic X-Men. I want to read that so
I would
bad.
read Apathetic X-Men.
Hell yeah.
That would be good. I think that would have to be... Who would write a good Apathetic X-Men?
Aaron.
Yeah, maybe Jason Aaron. Or maybe Brubaker.
Yeah.
I could see Brubaker writing an apathetic, the Apathetic X-Men #1.
Of course, Wade could do it.
Yeah, Wade. He'd just have them sitting around having coffee. That would be his version of that. But it'd be like New Avengers. Well, no, that was Bendis. Okay, so Bendis should write it.
There you go.
Yeah, they could just sit around and drink coffee together and complain.
Pass on missions.
So, just a normal X-Men book. All right, so I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up for us this week. Next Monday, a week from today, we are going to talk about Alias. That's a.k.a. Jessica Jones. It's a TV tie-in episode. That is, of course, a tie-in to the Netflix show Jessica Jones. Have you watched all that yet?
I'm like 2 episodes till the end.
I'm still way behind. I've still only watched the first episode.
Missing out, man.
Is it? Is it good?
It's no Daredevil, but it's pretty good. It's better than most of the shit on TV.
That's cool. Is Luke Cage cool in it?
Well, yeah.
Cool. I'm sold then. So we'll be talking about that. We'll talk about the first trade, maybe an issue or two past that. It's hard to say. You'll just have to check in and see what we do. Other than that, on Wednesdays, we do a weekly comic review that's kind of like this, a little more in-depth on the titles generally. We hash it out, talk about what we liked and didn't like from our own pull list. And then, another one of those next Wednesday after that.
Yeah.
And
those are going to keep happening.
They do. We
just keep on coming.
We just keep doing them.
All right.
Yeah.
Subscribe, comment, and see you later.
Twitter, Facebook.